Okay, let's go ahead and get started. Welcome to the Web Dev Room. Welcome to our new time, Wednesdays at 2 p.m. As always, if you have any questions or you have any other suggestions you'd like to mention there, please use the chat pod to do so. Otherwise, I'll go ahead and get started. Today, we're working with fine-tuning WordPress pages. We will, over the next 9 months, talk about various aspects of WordPress. And let's go ahead and jump into this. I threw this up earlier and then realized it was blocking the title of this. So if you could quickly give me some answers on the poll here, rate your overall ability to use WordPress on a scale of 1 to 5, with 1 meaning not very good using it, 5 meaning good, very good at using it. Just want to get a sense of the level of the folks out there. And I'll let these compile for a second. While they're compiling, let me point out we're going to have two rather kind of overarching themes to today's session. One is search engine optimization. We're going to talk about how to align your pages and how to focus your pages so that they show up high in search results in Google. Google Juice is the old term for that. And we're also going to be talking a lot about scannability and readability, how once folks get to your page, once they find your page, how they can easily find and access the information on that page. Another kind of old saw about websites is that you've got about 7 seconds to get their attention. If they can't find the content in those 7 seconds, they're off somewhere else looking at another page. So we're going to be focusing on keywords and search engine optimization, how to focus your page for the best results, and also how to make your pages readable and scannable for that end user so they can easily find the information they're looking for. I think we have our results in for the polling, so let's go ahead and get started. Bear with me here. So title and permalink is where we're going to start. Your title of your page needs to be concise, needs to be accurate, needs to catch the attention of that end user. Now, keywords, which is a dead horse we'll be beating all day today, should always be present in that title. Now, connected to the title is the permalink. The permalink is the URL of the page, the address on the internet of the page. Now, the URL is automatically generated by WordPress based on the title, but you can edit that permalink to give it more meaning. Now, the end of the permalink, the very end of the URL, the part after that right-click, you can edit. That's called the slug. WordPress will automatically build one for you, and if you've made up a good title, WordPress will do a good job of making up a good permalink as well, a good slug as well based on those words. But you can edit it for more conciseness. You can edit it to get rid of articles, to get rid of unnecessary words. And if you're working on a page that you're continually adding content to, you might want to change what the title and the slug of your page is to reflect the entire content of that page. My example here on the slideshow is how to reduce PDF file size. The slug for that is reduce PDF file size. So you want your title and you want the slug of your permalink, the editable part of your permalink, to align well. The slug should relate to the content of the post, and keywords should be present in both the title and that slug. So let's jump to, oops, not yet. Let's jump to my other screen. Here is my site. So I'm going to go to the dashboard. I'm going to right-click and choose Open a New Tab, so I have both my dashboard and my actual page up at the same time. This can allow me to quickly look at the changes I made and what they look like on my ending page. And the first thing I'll do is I'll go to Pages. I'll go to All Pages, though I could choose Add New, which is where we'll go to next. And I'll click Add New up here next to Pages to add a new page. Here is where our title goes. You'll soon see the permanent link appear just under the title. I have a cheat sheet I'll be working from today. So you don't have to watch me type and often type incorrectly. I'm going to Control and C to copy this text. We'll go back into WordPress, and I'm going to paste it right here into my title page. Now it takes a few seconds. Hopefully it won't take much more than a few seconds. There we are. We can now see my permalink here. My title is Understanding Food Label Dates. The slug of my permalink is also Understanding Food Label Dates. As you'll soon see, food label dates is our keyword or key phrase in this instance. So we don't need to do anything here. However, to edit the slug in this permalink, you click the edit button right here, and that allows you to go in and edit the slug, the last bit of this URL. We don't need to because I like the fact that it reflects my title, and I like the fact that both the title and my slug have my key phrase in them. One thing that I mentioned before, but I will mention again, if the content or the purpose of your page is changing over time, you might want to consider changing the title, and in particular changing the slug of that page to more accurately reflect the content on that page. Now, a nice thing about WordPress is that if you change the slug, if you change the URL, it will automatically rejigger all your navigation and all your menus to that new URL. If you sent out that URL to somebody via email, it's going to be a broken URL. But if you do it within the confines of WordPress, it will automatically change your menus and your links accordingly. So that's how to work with a title and how to work with the slug part of the permalink. And again, if you have any questions, please use the chat pod. Otherwise, I will go back to PowerPoint slide and the keywords. Now, as you may already be tired of hearing, we're going to be talking about keywords next. Your title and your slug, as we just saw, should have the main keyword for your page or your post in them already. You want to reflect this keyword in the content of your page and post, page or post, as often as you can. I say here, use it in the text. It should already be in your text because that is the content of your page. You want to reiterate that keyword in your headers, in taglines, which are the opening lines you might to help pull in that end user's attention. Use it in tabs. We'll be working with tabular responsive tabs today, which is a good way to organize a page and a good way to let end users know where information is. Use the keyword in your links, in pull quotes if you're working with them, in captions if you're working with them. And Yoast SEO, SEO stands for Search Engine Optimization, can help you focus your results. And tabular responsive tabs and Yoast SEO are both plugins that are already universally available across the CSU extension set of websites. You can already use these, and we'll talk about working with both of these today. Headers, and we'll work with headers next. End users look to headers to find information. If an end user sees a big paragraph of text, they're not going to read it. People don't read on the internet, they scan on the internet, simply because your brain works differently and your eye works differently when you're in front of a monitor. The caveat to them not reading that big paragraph, if you have a header in front of it that is, say, 7 words long and summarizes what's in that paragraph, that might make the end user want to read that paragraph. So your headers are a great way to let that end user quickly know where stuff is located on your page. So use headers every 300 words or so and summarize the text that is about to follow that header in the header. You've got to use a hierarchical order, header 1, header 2, header 3, for accessibility reasons, because the end user who's using a text-to-speech browser is going to want to be able to understand the structure of your page. So don't skip a heading. Use it like an outline. Your main point, subpoint would be header 2. A point within that subpoint would be header 3, and so on. It shows the end user how your page is organized, and more importantly, for accessibility reasons, it shows a text-to-speech browser how the page is organized. So let's jump back into WordPress, and we'll start to build the page that I keep talking about here. So we are back to my WordPress page. I'm going to use my cheat sheet again, and I'm going to grab the text. I'm going to right click and copy. I'll then go back to my page and I'll paste this in. Now, just looking at this, even without doing a preview, we can see that it really is. We have an H1 header, which is our title, but after that, it's just kind of a big glob of information. So we want to use micro content here to help certain things stand out and to make it more scannable. So let's start out with those headers I talked about. Again, our title we'll consider an H1 header. So our next level of header will be H2s. I'll go back to my cheat sheet here. I will copy this piece of text, go to WordPress. I'll put it in here up top. Now, right now we can see that it's paragraph. So we're going to select this header and we're going to make it H2 or heading 2. We're going to do this 2 more times. Back to my cheat sheet. My second header, I'll use Control and C to copy. We'll go to just below where I want to break these 2 up. This is currently formatted as paragraph, so I will change it to a heading 2, and we'll do this 1 more time. Canned goods and food safety. Copy it back to our article. We'll paste in the text and we'll make it an H2 header. Now, if I went through that too quickly, please let me know on the chat pod. But we can now see we at least have a little bit more scannability. For every 300 words or so, we are using a header that tells the end user what the next 300 words or so contain. It's a really good strategy when you're building a page. Let's go back to my PowerPoint. Back a couple slides. The readability, I'll go through this really quickly. People don't read pages, web pages, they scan them. You want to use simple words and phrases, use short words, short sentences, and short paragraphs. Write like Hemingway. Use plenty of active verbs. Try to avoid passive words, but use words that convey action. So try to avoid is, was, or are as your main verbs, and use active words, active verbs like read, use, buy, study. Read the label before you buy food. Use canned goods that are before the end use date and things like that. Active verbs. Use micro content, something I've already beat to death here. Make sure your page is easily scannable, so information that you need to find. Use visuals to move the reader's eye. We'll do this in just a second. You want to try to avoid the large banner-sized visuals or images that take up a lot of real estate on that page, and instead perhaps tuck your visuals into maybe the left the first time, the right the second time, and the left the third time. So align left, right, left to kind of draw that eye down the page. The instruction click here as a linking text, just avoid it entirely for many, many different reasons. Accessibility standards would want you to use descriptive text, and just people in general are going to want you to use the descriptive text in your content to link to. My example here, you don't say click here to download the 2018 Fair Book, because click here in itself is meaningless. Instead, write download the 2018 Fair Book and use the descriptive phrase 2018 Fair Book to link from. You might need to rewrite the content in your page to get that sentence to work well so that there is a good descriptive bit to link from, but your site will throw a red flag on the wave, the thing we use to check websites, if you are using things like click here or read more as your linking text. You also want to stick to commonly used phrases when in doubt. So text and micro content, I'll quit talking after this and we'll jump back into the WordPress. But we'll use a few of these strategies right now. Micro content increases scannability. You want to use headers using an outline style. We talked about this already. Taglines are not used that often in CSU extension sites, but they are quite useful. An opening statement, perhaps in italics, perhaps in bold, with a question, a statement, a summarization, maybe even a call to action. And we'll try that today. Tab your responsive tabs are that plugin I talked about earlier, and we'll deal with that towards the end of this session. It's a really good strategy for guiding that end user's eye. Links to other sites and inviting people to link to you so that you're linked to from other people increases your Google juice, and those links, because they stand out to the end user, are micro content as well. Bulleted linked lists are awesome. It's putting a ton of information in a very dense and easily scannable space so that end user can look at that bulleted link list. If they want to learn more about that subject, they click and learn more. If they don't want to learn more about that subject, they simply skip the link. So formatting your content using bulleted link lists is a really, really excellent strategy. You can also work with photo captions and pull quotes, both of which we'll do today. And remember, micro content should reinforce the actual content to focus on the main point of the post or the page. So with all that said, let's jump back into WordPress and we will use a few of these strategies. I go back to my main screen. So we have our H2s already. First thing we can do is pull these 3 paragraphs into bullet points. We will add a link here to Yampa Valley Sustainability Council's Food Waste Challenge. This link does not have the keywords in it, but you can't always have what you want. So we'll grab that link here, Control and C to copy it. Go back to WordPress. The way to create this link, I've selected my text. I go to the link option up here. I paste in my link and I click apply. We can add a tagline next. Back to my cheat sheet. We'll use this as our tagline. I'll copy it, go back to WordPress, and at the very top, and again, this isn't a strategy used very often on CSU pages, at least from my casual observations. We want to set this apart, so we will italicize it, and I think we'll leave it at that. We will add some photo captions, some pull quotes, and some actual visuals in just a bit. But this is a way to even let that end user know even more where stuff is. So we're helping the end user find content on our page by using headers, by using visuals, which we'll use in a bit, by using taglines, and by using bulleted lists. Let's go back to our PowerPoint and continue. Images. The first sentence of this I've changed probably 6 times. I even changed it about half an hour ago. So this policy is still a little in flux. However, LucidPress is recommended for branded materials or for composite materials. This is simply so creative services can know, or somebody in extension who is familiar with graphic standards at CSU can make sure that you're using graphic standards for CSU correctly. So if you're working with branded materials or composited materials, by composited I mean where you're taking an image and putting text on that image or a logo on that image, or perhaps working with more than one image, those are the types of things that you should use LucidPress for, and that you should request approval through LucidPress before you actually use them. You don't need LucidPress, nor is it designed for simple cropping and sizing. The best tools for simply cropping and sizing photos, which is what we'll be doing today. Pixlr is an excellent online tool, and then Photoshop is the big animal in the room that most people work with. Both Pixlr and the Photoshop Save for Web option will automatically compress your picture in terms of dots per inch or DPI, and the quality of the image is done with a slider in both Pixlr and Photoshop. At least it is if you're working with JPEGs, which is the format used for most photographs. Use the lowest acceptable quality on that little quality slider. In real life, in my real life anyway, that ends up being generally in the lower 30s, like a 33% quality. We'll have an entire session devoted to images and working with images in WordPress later in the year, particularly once we have the policy for LucidPress finally decided upon. When you upload an image to WordPress, always put in alt text, and you want to put the alt text in right away. The Wave tool, which is the tool we use to examine websites to see how accessible they are, don't always pick up alt text if it's added after the fact. After you put up your article, you publish it, and then you go, oh my God, I forgot to put in alt text. Sometimes it's not always picked up by the Wave tool. So the best way to work with alt text is to add it to the photo right after you upload the photo. And I guess I haven't defined alt text yet. Alt text is simply text that concisely and accurately explains the picture. Add a caption if warranted to that image. Once you have it up in WordPress, it's going to return 4 sizes to you. The full size, which I mentioned up here, I tend to use 1200 pixels wide as the main size for WordPress when I upload it. You'll rarely use that size in WordPress. It will return you a large size, which is 590 pixels wide, at least the theme that we're using in extension. Different themes will give you different sizes. A medium sized image will be 300 pixels wide, and then the thumbnail is going to give you a 150 by 150 pixel square. Now, in addition to those 4 options, full size, large, medium, and thumbnail, you've got a custom size button, and we'll work with that today. It's particularly useful, actually, if you're working with a rectangular thumbnail, somebody's face, and you don't want it to be a square, but you want it to, bear with me, but you want that, when you want it to be 150 pixels wide, but longer than 150 pixels long, that custom size button is best. You can also align the pictures when editing them as well. So let's add some pictures in, and let's talk about this process a little. I'll go back to my main screen. So here we are. We're going to add some visuals to this. So I'm going to move my cursor to the upper left-hand corner where I want my first picture to go. I'm going to go to Add Media. Now I already have this uploaded. If I want to upload a file to the media library, I go to Upload Files, I choose Select Files, and then I upload it. I'm simply going to select this, and when I do, I have information over here. The URL and the title are not too important. I have my alt text here of food label date. Actually, I'm going to add the word example here. Food label date, you'll notice, is our, that also shouldn't be capitalized, is also our keywords. We're helping emphasize that keyword and emphasize the focus of the article by using the alt text here. We're not going to add, well, we could add a caption to this. We're going to align this left. We're not going to link it, and we're going to size it as medium. This 300 medium size is good for kind of taking a photo and tucking it into a corner of an article, either left align or right align. We will increase the size of this in just a bit to show you how to work with customized sizes. So I'm going to use this alt text. I'm going to put it in as the caption as well. So we have a caption photo, and the alt text and the caption both align well with our keywords. So I'll click Insert into Page, and there we have it. So we have a picture here with the caption. If I click on the picture, I can edit it. I can do Align Center, which will not allow text on any side. I can align right, or I can take that alignment entirely. I'm happy with the left alignment. I am, however, going to go to the Edit button. And now when I go to size, and this was not available the last time we looked at the picture in the media library, the way to get to this custom size is to put the picture in your page, then go to that Edit button, and you'll be given this custom size option. And I'm going to change this from 300 to 350 just to make it a little larger. Notice that my height goes up as well so that the height and the width and the length of the photo are constrained. We'll click Update. You can see it's a slightly larger picture now. Might be a little too large, but we'll accept that. I'm going to go down to my third one here. I personally found let me back up a little bit. It's not a bad idea to have an image every 300 words or so. If you're dividing your article up in 300 word sections for those headers, you might want to consider having an image for every 300 words. One of the reasons I'm skipping that in this case is because I find that using an image to the left or to the right of a bulleted list really kind of muddies up the visual of it. So I'm skipping this middle bit. I'm going to move my cursor to where I want this second image to go. I'm going to click Add Media. I'm going to go to a pull quote right here. I'm not going to have it captioned this time because it has words in the actual pull quote already, but my alt text is the exact wording that is on the pull quote. We're going to align this right, no link, and medium size. So I'll insert this into the page. So even though I put my cursor over here on the left, because I aligned it right, it aligned over here on the right side of the page. We'll do what we did last time. I'll go to my Edit button, and this is the only way to get to that custom size. And we'll go with 325 because 350 looked a little too big on that last one. And that's much better. So now we have a pull quote, and while we're at it, let's move this size down to 325. I hope I wasn't doing that too quickly. All I did was go to the Edit button and then choose my custom size. So now we have more visual interest on the page. We have our keyword emphasized a couple more times, both in alt text and in our captions. And we are helping pull that end user's eye down the page using this method. And again, we'll be talking about images in a lot more detail in future sessions. I'm previewing this now to show you what we have now because most of our micro content's now in place. So this is what we have. Notice that when we began, all we had was a series of paragraphs. Now we have headers, we have a tagline, we have images with captions and alt text, so you can't see that. We have bulleted points, we have pull quotes. So we're really, the end user is going to find it much easier now to find the information they're looking for on this page. Again, if you have questions, use the chat pod. Otherwise, I will continue here. And we'll go back to my PowerPoint. Make sure I didn't skip one. So now we're going to talk about tabby responsive tabs, which are another excellent way to break up the content on your page so that the end user knows exactly what is where. This is a plugin, and we'll talk about plugins in later sessions, but this plugin is already activated on all sites system-wide. It's widely used. You don't need to use code view or anything for it. It's really easy to use, and it's a really effective tool. It's a good strategy for dividing up content. Best to have an H1 header above the tabs. You should have that in the title already of your page or your post. Tabs are considered, when they're rendered into a web page, are H2 headers. So we don't want to have an H2 header and then another H2 header right away. So we will have to play with our headers just a bit here. How to work with tabby responsive tabs. Another reason these are popular is because they're so easy to work with. You start each section with bracket, tabby, space, title equal, then the name of your tab in quotes, and then ending bracket. And you do that with each section. At the very end of the entire thing, not at the end of each section, but the entire thing, you simply put tabby ending in brackets. Now to have a specific tab open by default, you add this open equal and then yes in quotation marks to this line, and then we'll automatically open first. So let's add some tabby responsive tabs to show you another option in terms of formatting a page and letting your end user know where your content is. So I will once again jump to my main screen. Here we are in our article. So I'm going to go above this H2, bracket, tabby, title, equal. Now, these are too long to work well as tabs, so I'm going to truncate these a little bit. I'm going to copy and paste this text in. Oops. And I'm going to take out the word really. I'll finish the quote. I'll finish the bracket. I won't make this an H2, which it currently is in because it was above that header. And I'm going to make this just a paragraph. I'm also going to take this H2 and I'm going to make it a paragraph and I'm going to bold it. The reason I'm doing that is I don't want an H2, which this tabby title is, followed by another H2. So we're going to treat this previously known as a header as an, actually, I'm sorry, I'm going to take that back. I'm going to make this an H3. And we'll unbold it. I think that will work well. So that's our first tab. Our second tab will go right here. Bracket, tabby, title, equal, quote mark, I'll put common food label dates, finish my quote mark, and finish with a bracket. We'll change common food label dates to an H3 header, so we're not following an H2 header with another H2 header. Our last one is right here. And again, I want to cut back on not having too many words in these tabs so they show up on one line. So I'm simply going to call this one canned goods. Tabby, space, title, equal, quote, canned goods, finish my quote, finish my bracket, and at the very end of the whole deal, bracket, tabby ending, and closing bracket. Let me quickly look. I need to change this to an H3. I don't think we have any typos here, so let's preview it and see what it looks like. Hopefully I made no typos. I went to that preview button rather quickly. I'll show that to you again. But here are our three tabs: what food label dates mean, common food label dates, and canned goods. So this is another way to break up the content on a page, is by using tabby responsive tabs. And notice, let me go back to this page, that the H3 formatted here as all caps. That's not necessarily what you're going to get. So always use this preview button to see what your content looks like. And our preview button gave us this, and these H3 tabs in real life look much better than those all caps H3 header that we saw on the actual page. So we'll go back to our page, and we will go back to our PowerPoint and talk about one more plugin, which is Yoast SEO. Readability and keywords. This is another plugin that's already activated on all the sites that's really, really useful in determining scannability, and readability, and how your post or your page, if it's focused and everything is aligned along the same sets of keywords and ideas and content. I'll go through this quickly, though it'll make more sense once you're actually in Yoast SEO. If you go to the snippet preview part, edit snippet allows you to edit the slug and the meta description. We found a different place to work with the slug, which is right below the title. So we're going to use edit snippet today for a description on the site. The reason you want your meta description there is because it's often returned in search results when people are looking up information in Google or whatever search engine they might use. The slug we already talked about. It's the part of the URL that distinguishes the page. The description's got to be under 160 characters. You want to describe your content accurately and concisely. Use the active voice. Perhaps use a call to action. After the snippet view, we'll look at the readability tab. This is going to give you metrics on a lot of cool things. Short sentences, short paragraph. If you have short sentences between headers, the active voice, transition words, how easily it is to read, how well you're using headers, yada, yada, yada. A lot of metrics off the readability tab that we'll look at in just a second. And then finally is the focus keyword. What is the focus of the post? Your titles, your keywords, your descriptions, your headers, your alt text, all the stuff we've been talking about today needs to sort of align together and focus on that focus keyword. There's one more part to Yoast that we'll get to in a bit. Right now, let's just look at it. So here we are at my page. To make sure you have Yoast SEO enabled on your screen, you want to first go up here to the upper right-hand corner to Screen Options and make sure that you have Yoast SEO checkmarked. Once you've done that, below your page, below the place where you're putting in the content, you're going to see Yoast SEO here. It might be collapsed, so all you might see is this bar and the arrow, but click the arrow and it will expand out. We'll start with this little icon here that looks a little like a traffic light, and this will show us the name of our article, Understanding Food Label Dates, followed by Extension Technology Training, which is the name of the site itself. And if we want to modify the description, which right here is blank, we click Edit the Snippet, and then the slug we can edit here. We've already edited the slug elsewhere, but we can add our description in right here. So we will go up to the actual article itself, and we're going to use Understanding What Food Label Dates Really Mean as our meta description. So I'll put that in there, add a period. We'll close the snippet editor, and now it's going to give us readability metrics on what we just put in. So we'll click readability. It says we have one problem, that 22% of our sentences contain the passive voice. They don't want more than 10%, so I should go back to a couple of sentences in there and change the passive voice is, was, and change it to something like use, buy, sell, that kind of thing. The rest of this appears to be good results. This is considered fairly easy to read. We did a good job with our HUT subheadings. Should we deserved a exclamation point there. None of our paragraphs are too long. 24% of our sentences contain more than 20 words. They don't suggest more than 25. And about a third of our sentences contain transition words like and, but, and so on. Let's move on to the focus keyword. And if you haven't figured out by now, the focus keyword that we've been working with is food label dates, which is all over our content and our micro content. So I copied that, and I'm simply going to paste it down here under focus keyword. And it's finding a few problems with this. It's saying it doesn't appear in the first paragraph of the copy. This is a good time to warn you that Yoast SEO is an algorithm. It's not an actual human being, because if we go to the first paragraph of our copy, it's right here. It's food label dates right there. Now, they might be referring to the tagline here, but we have food label dates as a keyword prominently featured in most of the content in this page, so I'm not overly worried about that. It's saying no internal links appear on the page. You might consider adding some. This is a tech blog, so I don't really have any pages to add to, but it's certainly a good idea to have links, internal links to other pages on your site from your article. That's saying that our meta description could be a bit longer because we're under 120 characters and we have up to 156. The images do not have alt attributes containing the focus keyword. One of them does, one of them doesn't. That pull quote towards the bottom of the article does not have the keyword. And the SEO title contains the focus keyword, doesn't appear at the beginning. Try and move it to the beginning. As we just saw, it's in the second sentence of the article, so I think we're okay there. What it liked is the exact match keyword density is about 1%, which is great. They found it 5 times. Our meta description contains the focus keyword. 4 of our 6 subheadings contain the focus keyword. Let me point out that this shows you that we're working with 6 headings, even though we only put in 3. That's because it's counting those tabby responsive tabs as H2 headings. Anyway, all of our headings appear to be working both in terms of keywords and in terms of how they're spaced out. We have about 600 words. That's better than their recommended minimum of 300. We have 1 outbound link that is normal. Our SEO title has a nice length. The focus keyword is in the URL in that slug that we talked about, and we've never used this focus keyword before, which they consider very good. The other aspect of Yoast we can point out is not particularly useful as opposed to these readability and keyword stats, which I find extremely useful. But if we go to the second icon here, we can optimize for Facebook, and we can optimize for Twitter. So I don't find that these work too well, particularly the upload image, which doesn't work at all actually, even if you're putting an image as a featured image or you're putting it into this box as the Facebook image, it's going to choose the first image on your page. I've tried a lot of workarounds to get around this, and I really can't. So I think if you're posting an article from your WordPress site onto Facebook, just be prepared that it's going to use the first image in your page as the image that it shows on Facebook. You can, however, put the Facebook title in here. It is Understanding Food Label Dates. And then under our description, we'll put in this Understanding What Food Label Dates Really Mean subhead. And to upload the Facebook image, I'll show you how to do this, not that it's particularly useful, because if I choose this image, and I'll click Use Image, and then publish the page as is, it's still going to end up using this image right here. So I will hit Publish, and we can see what the page looks like by going to Preview Changes. And here's our page. We've got our tabby responsive tabs, we have our images, and we have our keyword used several times. And I believe that is it for this session. Thank you for showing up, and we'll see you next month when we continue talking about subjects in WordPress. Thank you for attending.